more than 100 hits so far in this playoff to lead the league. He's like, well, most of them are on the forecheck, and he's trying to, humble himself there. But I just think it's so unique, and just to see the buy-in from every other guy on this roster, and I think that that's the standard that Leon and Connor demand, right? Like, we know what it takes. We've been to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. You've got to ride this roller coaster. There's going to be lows. You can't dwell there. Like, come on, like, keep going. But also, you got to play on a high level to keep up with us, and we're going to need some depth production because it can't just be the two of us. And I think Hyman is a guy that is bought in as well as anybody. He's just such a delight, again, as a personality, but also just in the way that he plays. It's such a good role model to younger players, too, of how you have to evolve your game and evolve your role to stay relevant and still do this at a high level.
So, Emily, all focus is on Edmonton, but it's such a swing game, either 3-1 or 2-2. What's Dallas saying, and what do they need to do to get back into this series to push it back to Dallas and regain home ice advantage?
Every time we've talked to Pete DeBoer, he keeps the same line, which is, I know we lost the last two, but I see our team getting better in each of these games as we go along. And I don't know if that's just to spin the narrative or actually what he sees, but we all saw last game, especially in the second period, where they're not going away. Like, they're getting a dominant number of chances, and they look really good. It's just those pucks aren't going in the net, and it's really tough when you're playing such a quick strike and opportunistic team like the Edmonton Oilers are, because, okay, all of a sudden, like, they score one goal, and then boom, 2, 3, 4, 5, and, you're off to the races. So, I was talking to Tyler Seguin today a bit, and he's been around forever, and he's like, look, I've been in so many of these situations and so many of these different type of playoff rounds where, we feel like we're playing well and just nothing goes in. They just have to stay the course. I think they feel good about the fact that Jake Ottinger, throughout his career, tends to get better as playoff series go along because they know that he hasn't been at the top of his game so far. So as long as they mentally stay there, I think they feel that they're right in this. It's just a matter of, okay, well, the other team's pretty good too, and they're continuing to make adjustments because that's all that Chris Knoblauch does, is just adjust and advance.
Emily, what's the deal with Rupe Hintz? Like, does he have a broken leg or foot, or is he going to play tonight? Like, what's the scoop with that guy? He's an important piece for Dallas.
Yeah, it feels like the slashes happened at, like, the one area where you just can't take it. It was right in the upper foot, lower leg area. I was really surprised when he came out for warm-ups and then he left early. You figure, okay, maybe he's just getting some treatment so he can play in the game. And the fact that he didn't go and suit up kind of shocked me because, we know these guys are gamers and, we know what they play through. Rupe Hintz himself has played through a broken foot at one point in his career in the playoffs. I think last game being an afternoon game was definitely helpful for some extra hours, maybe to get that swelling down, to heal a little bit. He practiced yesterday, and honestly, the way he was cutting and turning, like, he looked really good, and it was a lot more than we saw, from him in warm-ups where he wasn't quite doing that. Didn't skate today, so, maybe why risk it to aggravate it? He's going to go out there for warm-ups again, see how he feels. My gut says he's going to play, but we'll find out.
With Emily Kaplan of ESPN ahead of Game 4 tonight, Oilers Stars out in Edmonton. The story of Stuart Skinner is quite compelling, man. It has been a wild ride for him. He's still a very young player. It feels like he's been in the league for 15 years. The amount of times we've talked about him and the amount of great games he's played and then poor games, and then he's on a heater, then he gets pulled, and Pickard goes in. And Pickard's going to return, we believe, tonight, and we'll back up. How do you cover the story of Stuart Skinner going into tonight and the rest of this series and possibly the Cup final, considering how well he's playing right now, how well he's played the last 2 years against Dallas, but everything else that we also know about Stuart Skinner?
Yeah, well, isn't it incredible that we're now talking about the Oilers goaltending as a position of strength?
Right.
Like, they're benching a guy who's been undefeated in the playoffs. Like, how many teams have ever done that? I think with Stuart Skinner, he calls it a roller coaster all the time. And so you have to, go with him that it is a roller coaster. And when he got benched so early in that first round, I think that absolutely would have been gutting to most players in this league. But because of what he's been through throughout his career, because of the work that he puts in, like this is a guy that's seen a sports psychologist since he was a teenager, reads all these books by a stoic. Like he really has leaned into the mental game. I think that he used that and framed it as an opportunity to work with the goalie coach and hone in on some technical aspects of the game. As you guys know, in the playoffs, there's typically not that much practice time, so that was like a rare moment where he actually could, train and work on some things, and he came out of it so much stronger. And so I think right now, in terms of like covering it, you celebrate the success because it's such an amazing story. We can learn so many lessons from it. He's got such great perspective in the way that he speaks about those vulnerabilities open. At the same time, he's the one that calls it a roller coaster, and so you know it's going to be a roller coaster, and at some point maybe it's going to give for him, and so you've got to be aware of that. And then I think the next time he hits a low, know that like he's probably not going to stay there forever because he always finds a way to get himself out of it now.
So Carolina goes to the conference final all the time, and yet they won their first game in the conference final in like 20 years last night. And yet they played well. It was a tough hockey game to watch. It was a grinding, tough, not a ton of entertainment value.
Low event,
game.
we call it.
Yeah.
Low event. Perfect way to express and explain what happened
That's
last
the
night.
euphemism. Lovely.
Yes. So, I think most of all four of us, and I think everyone still believes this is Florida and it's over. But the idea that Carolina pushes it to 6 or beyond, how much benefit do you think Florida would get from ending this quicker as opposed to allowing Carolina getting off, the mat, so to speak?
Well, I think Florida would really benefit from ending it quickly, especially because, I don't know, I'm still gearing up for a long series here in the West, and they seem a bit banged up, right? Like, we don't know what's really going on with Reinhart, Mikkola, AJ Greer's not going to play. Like, if you just give those guys up to 10, 11 days to not play hockey and not have to play the physical grind, you'd have to imagine that's a massive advantage. Plus, of course, what happened last year in the Stanley Cup final where, okay, they allow one, game, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, is this the team that's capable of allowing a team to climb back in? My experiences with Florida, specifically this year, like they're just so advanced mentally. Like it's just such a disciplined and structured game of the way that they're able to toe the line of being a tough team to play against, but not allowing it to affect them. And so I feel like they always self-correct. Like, okay, maybe this is a wake-up call, a good opportunity, and they're going to go down there to Raleigh and just take care of business. At the same time, like, it just didn't look like the Canes team we're used to, right? Like, I covered them through the first 2 rounds at various points, and they were unrecognizable. So now that they're starting to find themselves, maybe it's a bit of confidence. Maybe Freddie just needs to sit for a bit to reset so he can regain that form. And Nikisha now feels like a weapon, right? Like, Rod was so scared to put him in because he didn't speak English. They're worried about communicating, and that kid looked pretty good to me last game. So I think we have a bit of a series now. I feel like the platitudes we were saying about Florida are probably too exaggerated, but they still feel like they're on a different gear and a different level than Carolina is.
Yeah, they have been lights out for a while. That's for sure. We have a shot of Ray when everyone's jumping on the ice tonight because that was our favorite shot the other night. He looked so rattled for some reason. He had his hand
it's like
on
he's
his
never been
hip.
to a hockey game before, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we want more ISO cam of Ray. We need more Ray on ESPN tonight. Please do us that favor.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, like, make sure Ray gets his snacks and his waters. He gets cranky. But no, I love this. I'm all totally on the assignment.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks, Emily. Enjoy it tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
There's Emily Kaplan. Get Ray there.
Hand on his hip.
Yeah. Like, let's go.
Just go on the ice and get it. Like, I don't know. He just. I laughed to myself. It was the beginning of the game. Guys are skating onto the ice. And he was like, I am so mad. Everyone that knows Ray has seen him where he's just disgusted. Maybe it was just one of those things where he's looking away. Who knows? But it was so funny. I had to laugh to myself.
Well, I mean, that's the amazing thing. Like we asked Emily out of the gate, the luxury of being up close and personal and watching McDavid and Draisaitl. And Ray has been in the game for 40 years. Like he's seen everything. Where, do you know how many people would pay for that seat, like just to watch McDavid fly by? You know how much money you could get in an auction, like a charity auction? Like stand where Ray stands and watch McDavid do laps. People would pay thousands of dollars for that.
For sure.
And Ray's like, all right, let's go. Come on.
He's annoyed because I know he talked about his headset. The cord's only about 2.5 feet long, so it's short. So he's stuck in his headset, kind of leaning back against